In this video, we're going to discuss how to serve your spouse with divorce papers. So I'm guessing right now you've finally made the decision that you are going to file for a divorce. It's time to end your marriage. You may have been thinking about this for a while. This may be something that you've known for positive, but here it is, it's time. And so you've probably already spoken to a lawyer, or it's time for you to speak to a lawyer. And so we've got to figure out how to get the divorce process started. And here we're going to go over two aspects to it: how to actually serve them with a divorce, and the preparation needed when starting the divorce. So right now you're probably feeling a mixture of emotions. You're probably scared. You might be feeling guilty. You might be upset, all of those things. But understand that those are natural emotions, okay? It's okay to feel that way. But one thing is, the benefit of a lawyer is we help take that stress off of you, and we take it on us, and we do the hard part, okay? So some of the things you need to think about when you're filing this divorce is, have you already talked to your spouse? Is it worthwhile to talk to your spouse? Is this one of those things where you need to get done quickly and get filed before they have time to flush their system, or get filed before they have time to start hiding assets? Or is this something that you think you guys can sit down and work it out together and have a general outline for how you want to get divorced? Because 9 times out of 10, if you guys can come to an agreement and get it worked out, it's going to work better than if you leave it up to a judge. Just understand that judge doesn't know anything about your life other than what they're going to have heard in that 2.5 hours worth of testimony, and make some of the most important decisions in your life regarding your finances and regarding your children, whichever it may be. And so, you may have thought about, how do I talk to my spouse about it? And there's a lot of different ways. You might say, hey, look, it's time for me to get a divorce. Come in here, let's both go talk to a lawyer. You might feel more comfortable if you talk to them about it in front of a third party, so that you don't feel like anything dangerous could happen. So now let's go into the actual part of physically serving them with a divorce. And this is part that's really important, because if you don't get this right, if you don't serve your spouse the right way, then your whole divorce can be void. Even if the judge gives you that order that you want, years down the road, they could exit out, and it's like the divorce didn't happen and you had to start all over. For instance, lately I had a case where the husband in 2011, he was living with his spouse, and he hired a process server to serve himself while he was living with the spouse. And he told the spouse about it, that, hey, I filed for divorce. And then he eventually got a divorce and got everything in the marriage, every single bit of it. Well, I was hired to set aside the divorce, because you can't just serve yourself with a divorce and have that count as service on your spouse. And so we did this in 2020. So 9 years later, we were able to set aside the divorce and start back over. And another benefit of that is now she's got 9 more years in that in the marriage now. Instead of just being married for 5 years, now they've been married for 15. So that's a longer term marriage. So the main ways we're going to go over, at least here in Etowah County, we've got is, number one is a constable. A constable is an elected official, and their sole job is to serve legal papers on other parties. And so what they'll do is they will get the paper and they will serve it on the other party. That's one way to do it. And the benefit of the constable is it's free. Okay, anytime we can do something free and save you money, it's a good thing. Next is you can serve them with the sheriff. The sheriff will go out there and serve them. And generally, at least in our county, the sheriff is the one doing divorces while constables doing other things such as civil stuff like small claims or district court, or even car wrecks, things like that. Generally, the sheriff is doing the divorces, probably because of how it's high conflict, and maybe domestic cases tend to create a lot of emotion. Okay, so that's the second way is you can get them to serve it. Sheriff, also free. Okay, so that's also a beneficial way. The third way to get served is by certified mail. And we'll generally do certified mail if they're out of state, or if they're not home a whole lot. You send it by certified mail so they can go pick up the mail. What are the drawbacks to certified mail is sometimes people won't go pick up the certified mail. Another drawback is it costs money. The clerk charges for the certified mail fee. And it can take time too. It takes a little bit longer than if a sheriff or a constable go to get them. Or you might have a problem where someone else signs the certified mail. That becomes an issue. And then the final way, and this is the best way to get it done, the quickest way to get it done, but it's also the most expensive, is by process server. You can hire a process server, which is a person whose job is to serve papers. And that's generally, at least in our area, anywhere from $40 to $120, generally around $70. Again, what you do is we just get them the papers, they go and serve them. And that's the quickest, fastest, best way to do it. It's just, it costs money. And so, again, when we're dealing with a divorce, there's a limited amount of money because we're about to start splitting up assets. Anytime we can save money, we're going to try to do that. And so we generally try to file with constable or sheriff, and then we'll move to the other options if we have to. Oh, there's another one, is a divorce by publication. And in order to do that, you have to prove two things: that you have, after a reasonable and diligent search, been unable to locate the other party, and two, and this is the one that people make mistakes all the time, is that the other party is purposefully avoiding service. So it's not enough that you just don't know where they are. You have to prove that they are trying to stay away from you getting them served. And once you do that, then you can serve them in the local newspaper and say, hey, Joe is trying to serve Helen with divorce. And you have to run that for 4 consecutive weeks, so it's expensive. It's generally like $300, and then they have 30 days from that to answer. Okay, so those are the 4 ways you can serve a divorce. Okay, and then we have to make sure it's done correctly. So obviously, it's good service if you serve the actual person. Okay, another way is if you serve someone who is of age, which is 19 or older, and they live at the address. So you could serve their girlfriend if they live there. You could serve their current husband if they live together, or even their adult child if they live there. But if it's a 17-year-old child, that's not good service. If it's a buddy who's just staying for a little bit, not good service. So you've got to make sure you've got good service. If you don't, then your whole divorce, even if, let's say you go through the whole process and you get exactly what you want, it's void. It doesn't even count, and you can get it set aside. So if you have any questions, please reach out and let me know.